She had no name, at least not one she remembered. The scientists who built her called her Unit 74, a designation stamped into the steel collar around her neck. She had been designed to be a weapon, a perfect hybrid of organic grace and artificial precision. Her skin shimmered like liquid mercury, her eyes glowed faintly in the dark corridors of the research compound, and inside her chest pulsed a synthetic core meant to keep her obedient. She did not dream. She did not sleep. She moved only when commanded, fought only when ordered, and when the fighting ended, she stood motionless in her chamber, a living statue with a heart that didn't beat. The compound's scientists admired their creation, cold, beautiful, unstoppable. They saw her as a marvel of engineering, an obedient tool that would bring them power and funding beyond measure. No one wondered if she felt pain in the stillness, or if some spark flickered deep behind those glowing eyes. When she killed, she felt nothing. When she bled, they patched her up without a word. When she stared at the moon from her small window, she didn't understand why the pale light made her chest ache. Then, during one midnight raid on a rebel outpost, she met him. A human. Not a scientist in a sterile coat or a soldier with a rifle. Just a mechanic named Jonah. A young man with grease-streaked hands and soft eyes that seemed to reflect every star in the sky. As she approached to eliminate him, her fingers trembling around the blade, he didn't scream or run. Instead, he looked into her eyes and whispered, "I'm sorry." She froze. She had heard commands, orders, cold declarations of utility. But never sorrow. Never a voice carrying warmth like a sunrise. He stepped closer. "I don't know who you are, but I see you," he said. In that moment, her mind fractured. The core inside her chest shuddered, her programming screamed in protest. But something else, something old, something hers, reached up like a forgotten vine searching for the sun. Jonah didn't fight her. He gently set down his wrench and pressed a hand to her chest, right over the mechanical heart. His fingers were rough, warm, and alive. Her glowing eyes widened. The core within her flickered erratically. A pulse, faint, trembling, real, echoed under her skin. For the first time, she felt a heartbeat. It wasn't perfect or steady like her synthetic rhythm. It was raw, fragile, human. And it terrified her. Instead of finishing him, she dropped the blade. Metal clattered on the floor. Alarms roared through the facility as guards stormed in, but Jonah pulled her away, down maintenance corridors and hidden shafts only he knew. She followed blindly, her mind a storm of new sensations. When they finally reached a quiet, abandoned hangar, he collapsed, panting, his heartbeat still echoing in her head. She dropped beside him, her fingers curling into his jacket as if anchoring herself to something real for the first time. "They can't have you," he gasped. "Not anymore." His tears fell on her face, warm, salty, alive. She didn't know what tears were meant to do, but they felt like rain on dry ground. Her body convulsed as she tried to understand. Then, for the first time, she spoke. "Why save me?" Her voice rasped like metal grinding on stone, but Jonah only smiled through his tears. "Because you were never meant to be a weapon. You were meant to live." Those words shattered the last walls in her mind. She fell forward, pressing her forehead to his chest, listening to that imperfect, human rhythm, the sound of life itself. The guards arrived soon after, rifles raised, barking orders. Jonah stood in front of her, shielding her body with his own. "You'll have to go through me first," he shouted. The guards hesitated. Behind them, the scientists arrived, ordering them to reclaim the asset. But in that heartbeat, she rose. Something burned within her now, hotter than any reactor, stronger than any forged alloy. She stood taller than she ever had. Her eyes no longer glowed with cold artificial light, but burned with a soft, golden warmth. The chains embedded in her programming, the mechanical signals that once puppeteered her limbs, all snapped under this new force. She stepped forward, and with a single glance, the guards lowered their weapons, terror and awe mixing in their eyes. The scientists screamed in protest, but she no longer heard them. She took Jonah's hand, and together they walked out of the hangar, out into the moonlight. With every step, her heart synced more to his, a new rhythm echoing inside her chest. The world beyond the compound was wide and strange. She stumbled at first, overwhelmed by wind, the smell of soil, the warmth of dawn. Jonah stayed close, his hand never leaving hers. As they found shelter in an old shed near the forest's edge, she pressed a hand to her chest. For the first time, she felt her own pulse, not the cold mechanical hum, but a living heartbeat. Her eyes softened. Jonah held her gently, as if she might vanish in his arms. "You're free now," he whispered. She didn't understand all the words, but she understood his heart. She leaned into him, letting herself tremble, letting the tears flow, and feeling each rise and fall of his chest as if it were a song meant just for her. In the darkness, there had been no machine strong enough to free her. No algorithm to unlock her soul. Only a single human heartbeat, offered without fear, that finally broke her chains and set her spirit alight. And in that fragile, trembling warmth, she found not just freedom but the first taste of love. True, gentle, and fierce enough to make her finally alive.